Anxiety steals focus, drains energy, and keeps millions trapped in cycles of stress. But there's a way out, and it starts right here. In this powerful audiobook from Audiobook Everyday, you'll discover simple science-backed methods and timeless wisdom that delete anxiety and rebuild calm from the inside out. Every chapter gives you practical tools you can apply immediately, so you don't just listen, you transform. Stay with this to the end, because the strategies you'll hear aren't theory, they're daily actions that reprogram your mind and body for lasting peace. Subscribe now to Audiobook Everyday and unlock the freedom you deserve. Chapter 1. The 1-minute reset that calms anxiety instantly. A single minute can change the trajectory of a day. Anxiety does not require wrestling. It requires precise, calm interruption. In one breath, a small chemical storm in the body can be rerouted. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That sentence is not comfort fluff. It is a map. The following 1-minute reset is a practical map, a repeatable, physically grounded routine that uses body, breath, and thought in a tight sequence to stop panic, restore clarity, and build the discipline that reduces anxiety over time. This is not about escaping feelings. This is about meeting them with calm competence and altering how the nervous system responds. Begin by recognizing where attention sits. For the first 5 seconds, scan the body with a quiet, focused awareness. Notice jaw tension, the shoulders rising, the shallow, rapid breath, a hollow behind the eyes, or a flutter in the stomach. Naming sensation is a tiny act of mastery. The brain hears labels and responds with lower reactivity. Speak silently, neck tight, shoulders up, breath shallow. This short inventory turns automatic panic into data that can be acted on. Shift posture in the next 5 seconds. Plant both feet flat on the ground. Feel the contact beneath the soles. Sit or stand with a straight spine, but not rigid. Grounding changes neurochemistry faster than most people realize. The pressure on the feet signals safety to the brain. Straightening the spine opens lungs and resets breathing mechanics. These physical adjustments, even when tiny, redirect the body away from the collapsed, panic-ready position into a prepared, regulated stance. Now move into the controlled breath sequence for 20 seconds. Inhale slowly for a count of 4 through the nose. Pause for a count of 2. Exhale for a count of 6 through the mouth, with gentle pursing of the lips. This slight lengthening of the exhale triggers the parasympathetic system, the body's brake, calming heart rate and chemical stress responses. Counting anchors attention away from runaway thoughts. Eyes can be softly focused or gently closed. Either choice reduces visual noise. Repeat this breath cycle 3 times. The first breath interrupts panic, the second builds a calmer rhythm, the third consolidates clarity, the sensation of air moving, the subtle expansion in the ribs, and the release in the belly are sensory proof that the body can change the mind. Add a brief muscular release during the next 10 seconds. Progressive relaxation in microform works exceptionally well. Inhale and tense the shoulders and jaw for 3 counts. Then exhale and release everything at once. Tension often holds anxiety like a magnet. By intentionally tensing and then fully releasing, the nervous system learns that tightness is voluntary and releasable. This tiny exercise also gives the brain a pattern. Stress can be undone by action. For the next 10 seconds, perform a cognitive reframe exercise that is both stoic and tactical. Use the dichotomy of control. Identify one element of the situation that is outside control, and then name one small, controllable action. For example, if speaking in public triggers anxiety, the uncontrollable might be an audience's reaction. The controllable is the next breath and the first sentence delivered slowly. Say to oneself a short phrase of permission and purpose. This moment is passing. Focus on the next action. Keep the phrase tight, concrete, and anchored to movement. This is not positive thinking that ignores fear. This is practical reorientation that places energy on what can be changed now. Finish the minute by creating an anchor, a physical cue to return to later. Press thumb and forefinger together. Tap the chest, or create a one-word internal anchor like now. Repeat the anchor once while breathing slowly. Conditioning the anchor over repeated practice makes the 1-minute reset even faster in future moments. After 30 or 40 repetitions, the body learns to switch from high alert to composed readiness in fractions of a minute. This method is powerful because it leverages 3 principles that act like laws for mental regulation. First, the Pareto principle applies. A small set of focused actions, body adjustment, breath control, and a brief cognitive reframe, produce the majority of immediate relief. Identify this small set and practice it until it becomes a reflex. Second, the law of association explains anchors. Repeated pairing of a cue with a calmer state creates a neural pathway that can be triggered later. Third, the dichotomy of control, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, provides a moral and cognitive framework. Energy invested in what can be controlled produces sustained calm. Energy invested in what cannot be controlled fuels anxiety. Practical application requires repetition in low-stakes moments, so the body learns the pattern. Practice the 1-minute reset in the morning after waking, between meetings, or while waiting for coffee. Each practice is neural training. Repetition changes the default setting of the nervous system from reactive to responsive. Keep a simple log for 2 weeks. Mark each time the reset is used and rate anxiety before and after on a 1 to 10 scale. Those numbers map progress in a way feelings alone cannot. Over time, the baseline anxiety level drops because the brain receives consistent feedback that distress is manageable. Use specific language for different contexts. For sudden panic, shorten the sequence, 30 seconds of the breath pattern with immediate grounding and 1-word anchor. Before a performance, perform the full minute twice, pairing the reset with a mental script for the opening line. Before sleep, sit upright for the minute and then lie down, carrying the slower breath into the first minutes of rest. For social interactions, use the anchor subtly, a finger press in the pocket or a thumb rub, to bring the calmer state into presence without attention from others. Sensory calibration matters. Notice the texture of the breath, cool on the inhale, warmer on the exhale. Tune into the weight of the feet, the tone of the voice when the phrase is spoken internally. These details make the practice vivid and immediate. Anxiety thrives in abstraction. Specificity defeats it. Make each minute concrete and sensory rich. Motivation to practice often fades if framed as merely therapeutic. Reframe practice as skill building. The 1-minute reset is a performance skill that improves productivity, relationships, and resilience. Treat it like learning a musical scale or a golf swing. Discipline shows up in small, repeated commitments rather than dramatic efforts. This is consistent with a Stoic ethic. Daily exercises forge character. Epictetus wrote that it's not what happens, but how things are faced. Master the micro skill, and the macro changes follow.
There will be days when the reset seems to do little. That is part of the process. Sometimes the nervous system requires longer work. In those moments, use the 1-minute reset as a starting point and follow it with a longer practice. A 10-minute walk, 15 minutes of journaling, or a short phone call to a trusted person. Think of the minute as a gateway. It opens the system to further repair, even when immediate relief is partial.
Implementing this method into daily life requires a simple system step. Pair the reset with an existing habit. Habit stacking is effective. After brushing teeth, perform the reset. After the first cup of coffee, perform it. Before hitting send on a stressful email, perform it. This embeds the practice without relying on willpower alone. The 80-20 mindset helps choose which habits to pair. Pick 2 stable anchors that cover most days. Accountability accelerates progress. Share the method with one trusted person and report times practiced each week. That social signal, combined with the personal log, creates momentum. For those creating content, audio, video, or books, the 1-minute reset scales well as a micro lesson. Show it, guide viewers through it, and invite them to try it live. Action creates belief. Finally, a short, stoic directive for a lasting mindset. Accept that anxiety is part of being alive, but refuse to make it the narrator of life. The 1-minute reset is not a promise of permanent absence of anxiety. It is an instrument of mastery. Use it consistently and the nervous system will learn. Panic is temporary, behavior is chosen, and strength is built in tiny, disciplined practices. Discipline without drama is the real transformation. Each practiced minute accumulates into hours of clearer thought, better decisions, and a life led rather than a life deferred by fear. Practice the minute, own the day, and build the quiet confidence that comes from reliable action. Chapter 2. Breathing like this deletes stress in 30 seconds. Stress steals clarity faster than almost anything else. It hijacks the body, narrows thinking, and creates a storm that feels bigger than reality. But there is a doorway back to balance, and it can be opened in less than 30 seconds. Breathing is the oldest medicine and the most overlooked skill. The truth is, most people breathe in a way that fuels stress instead of dissolving it. Short, shallow, chest-level breathing keeps the body in fight or flight mode, while deep, rhythmic patterns signal the brain to stand down, to release the grip, to restore calm. This is where transformation begins. Not through external distractions, but through an internal command. Consider the words of Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Stress exaggerates, magnifies, and distorts. A single deliberate breathing pattern can bring the imagination back under control and anchor the mind to what is real and manageable. The practice that follows is simple but powerful. It is known by athletes, soldiers, and thinkers who must perform under pressure. It is not about removing stress entirely. It is about taking mastery over it so that the body becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Here is the practice. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, feeling the belly rise. Hold that breath gently for 2 seconds, not with tension but with composure. Exhale through the mouth for 6 seconds, slow and steady, as though releasing a controlled stream of air. Repeat this cycle for 30 seconds. That is enough time for the nervous system to shift gears. The extended exhale signals the parasympathetic system, the body's natural calming response that danger has passed. What feels like chaos begins to quiet, not because the world outside has changed, but because the inner chemistry has. To understand its impact, picture a surgeon about to make the first incision. The room is quiet, the responsibility enormous, heartbeats quicken, hands could shake, yet the best surgeons steady themselves with this exact kind of breathing. In those few moments, their physiology shifts from scattered to steady, from stress-driven to precise. They do not wait for confidence to arrive. They breathe themselves into it. If this pattern works in an operating room, it will work in traffic, in conversations, in exams, or in the restless silence of 2 a.m. One real-life example comes from a young professional named Arif, who struggled with crippling stress before big presentations. His throat tightened, palms sweated, and his mind raced with what could go wrong. He learned this 4-2-6 breathing sequence and began practicing it 30 seconds before entering the conference room. Within a week, his colleagues noticed a change. His voice steadied, his delivery sharpened, and his confidence grew. Stress did not vanish, but it stopped running the show. Breathing became his reset button, available anytime, anywhere. The beauty of this practice lies in its accessibility. No equipment is needed, no special environment required. It can be done at a desk, in a car, during a break, or even in a crowded place, without anyone noticing. The breath is both invisible and immediate, which makes it the perfect tool for modern life, where stress can appear without warning. Every repetition conditions the nervous system, training it to respond with resilience instead of collapse. Over time, this 30-second drill becomes less of an exercise and more of a reflex, a built-in survival mechanism. Science confirms what the Stoics and sages intuited centuries ago. Breath length and rhythm directly influence heart rate variability, which is the body's measure of adaptability. A slow, extended exhale increases variability, signaling flexibility and calm. Stress, on the other hand, locks the breath into rigid patterns, shrinking variability and trapping the mind in panic. By practicing deliberate breathing, you are not simply calming emotions, you are rewriting the language your body speaks to your brain. The key is consistency. One 30-second practice brings temporary relief, but daily use creates transformation. Stack it onto existing routines. Before opening email, take 30 seconds for this breath. Before stepping into a meeting, 30 seconds. Before sleep, 30 seconds. Repetition strengthens neural pathways. What begins as effort becomes second nature, and eventually stress meets not panic, but preparation. There is also power in combining this breath with a mental cue. Choose a short word that embodies the state you want. Calm, steady, present. As you exhale, repeat the word silently. The breath and the word fuse together, creating an anchor that grounds the mind. Over time, the mere whisper of that word cues the body to shift. Even before the breath begins, it becomes a ritual, a personal trigger for composure. Think of ancient warriors before stepping onto the battlefield. They did not waste energy pacing or rehearsing fears. They stood still, filled their lungs, exhaled with control, and marched forward. In those breaths lay courage. Today, the battles may be different. Deadlines, conflicts, health struggles, but the weapon remains the same. Breath steadies the hand and clears the path. For those who doubt whether something so simple can be so effective, test it in the smallest of moments. Next time frustration builds in traffic, use the 4-2-6 cycle. Instead of shouting at the windshield, breathe. Notice how the grip on the wheel loosens, how the chest softens, or in the middle of an argument, pause for 30 seconds and breathe. You will see how words come out slower, less charged, more precise. These are not trivial shifts. They are the difference between escalation and resolution, between exhaustion and strength. Discipline is not built in grand gestures, but in small repeated acts. Breathing deliberately for 30 seconds is one of the smallest investments with the highest return. It teaches the body that stress is not the master. It reminds the mind that clarity can be summoned, not begged for. It proves that control is closer than panic suggests. As Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. Mastery begins with the breath, not hours of training, not years of study, a half-minute practice that cuts through noise and builds steadiness. 30 seconds of intentional breathing becomes 30 minutes of clearer thought, 3 hours of steadier work, a lifetime of stronger composure. Stress may knock on the door daily, but with this practice it never takes the keys to the house. The next time stress rises, Give 30 seconds to the breath. Inhale, hold, exhale longer. Repeat. Watch how the storm loses its force. Carry this practice as a shield, and life's challenges will still appear, but they will no longer break you. Strength is not in denying stress. Strength is in commanding the body to meet it with calm precision. Every 30-second cycle is a reminder that freedom lives in discipline, and peace is always one breath away. Chapter 3. The morning ritual that shields you from anxiety all day. How a day begins determines how it unfolds. The first hour after waking is the most powerful hour of the entire day because it sets the rhythm for the body, the focus of the mind, and the tone of emotions. Anxiety loves chaos, and mornings filled with rushing, random scrolling, and mindless noise give it fertile ground to grow. But mornings shaped by clarity and intention create a shield. When you own the start, you own the day. Seneca once said, "Life is long if you know how to use it." The same truth applies to mornings. They are calm if you know how to shape them. The strongest defense against daily anxiety is not a complicated system, but a simple ritual. This ritual does not take hours, nor does it require luxury or equipment. It only requires discipline, because discipline is what builds freedom. Anxiety thrives when mornings are surrendered to distraction, but it weakens when the first minutes belong to focus. Imagine waking and the first action is deliberate, not accidental. No phone, no racing into tasks, no sudden plunge into the noise of the world. Instead, you create space, you build control, and you design the atmosphere your mind will carry for the next 16 hours. The practice is straightforward. Within 5 minutes of waking, stand, place both feet firmly on the ground, close your eyes briefly, and take 3 slow, steady breaths. This simple pause prevents the automatic flood of tension. Then write down 3 sentences. 1 gratitude, 1 intention, and 1 commitment. Gratitude grounds you, intention directs you, and commitment strengthens you. After this, perform a 2-minute movement, stretching, push-ups, or walking slowly while breathing deeply. Finally, drink a glass of water to signal the body it is awake and supported. The entire ritual lasts less than 10 minutes, yet the return is immense. Why does this shield work? Because anxiety is often an anticipatory state, the fear of what may happen. The ritual stops the mind from leaping into the future and brings it into command of the present. Writing gratitude shifts focus from what is lacking to what is steady. Setting intention trains the brain to filter the day through clarity instead of chaos. Making a commitment locks behavior to purpose. Movement shakes off the night's stagnation, releasing endorphins that stabilize mood. Water restores hydration, which affects cognitive performance more than most people realize. Together, these simple acts form armor. Consider the story of Mira, a college student who woke each morning already anxious. Her day began with phone notifications, then rushing to classes with her mind spinning about assignments and social pressures. She felt behind before she even started. After adopting this morning ritual, change came quickly. Writing gratitude shifted her attention from constant comparison to appreciation. Her intention for the day, sometimes as simple as stay steady in class discussions, gave her a focus point. Her one commitment, often finish today's reading by 7 p.m., gave her discipline. Within 2 weeks, her mornings felt calmer, her energy steadier, and her anxiety far less invasive. She had not eliminated stress from her schedule, but she had built a shield that kept it from overwhelming her. This ritual also aligns with timeless wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, began his mornings by reminding himself of the challenges he would face and the values he would carry. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, but I cannot be harmed by any of them. That morning exercise was his shield. Your ritual can be the same. A small investment of time that strengthens resilience before the day's difficulties even arrive. Practical consistency is the secret. Perform the ritual at the same place every morning, a desk, a table, or even the side of your bed. Keep a notebook and pen ready so there is no excuse. The brain responds to cues, and this regularity turns the ritual into habit. Over weeks, the ritual becomes less of a choice and more of an instinct. Missing it will feel unusual, just like leaving the house without shoes. That is when anxiety begins to lose its grip, not by force, but by being starved of its morning fuel. There is also a mental volume in this practice. Starting with gratitude lowers the mental volume of worry, reducing the noise of comparison and fear. Intention adjusts the channel, tuning the mind toward direction. Commitment turns up the volume on discipline, ensuring the day's soundtrack is steadiness instead of panic. The difference may seem subtle, but it transforms how interactions, challenges, and setbacks are handled. Think of athletes preparing for competition. They never simply walk in cold. They warm up, they focus, they prime body and mind. This morning ritual is that warm-up for everyday life. Without it, the mind is stiff and vulnerable. With it, the mind is primed, flexible and resilient. The ritual tells the nervous system, today, I am prepared. Today, I am not reacting but leading. For those who doubt whether such a short practice can have lasting impact, run a personal experiment. For 7 days, perform the ritual without fail. Keep a small record. Rate morning anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10 each day. By the end of the week, most will see the numbers fall, not because life became easier, but because the foundation became stronger. A shield does not remove arrows from the battlefield, but it prevents them from piercing the heart. This ritual also protects against one of the modern age's greatest threats: digital invasion. The phone in the first moments of the morning delivers news, messages, comparisons, and endless demands. Each notification is like opening the door to a crowd before even standing upright. By delaying the phone until after the ritual, you claim sovereignty over your attention. You decide how your day begins, not a glowing screen. That single boundary can reduce anxiety more than any pill or program. Energy flows where intention goes. By writing a single intention each morning, you direct the flow before distractions scatter it. One person may choose, focus on patience in meetings. Another might write, speak with clarity in today's call. These are not vague wishes, they are filters. Throughout the day, the mind remembers, and behavior shifts to match. Instead of being dragged by random veins, you steer your own ship. The ritual is also a reminder that anxiety cannot thrive in clarity. Ambiguity feeds it, but clarity starves it. Gratitude, intention, commitment, movement, hydration, each element clears the fog. When repeated, they train the body and mind to default to steadiness. Over months, this consistency builds a character that is resilient, grounded, and composed. As the Stoics taught, freedom is not given by the world but built inside. This morning ritual is an act of inner freedom. It is choosing to command the first steps of the day instead of surrendering them. And from that command flows strength, calm and focus that lasts well beyond the morning. Tomorrow, when the alarm sounds, remember this: you can wake into chaos, or you can wake into clarity. One path leaves you chasing calm all day. The other path shields you from anxiety before it even arrives. The shield is not complicated, it is not lengthy, it is not unreachable. It is a small, powerful ritual. Your armor, your foundation, your proof that calm is built, not found. Practice it, repeat it, and carry it, and you will walk through each day with steadiness that no storm can break. Chapter 4. Delete negative thoughts with this 5-word formula. Negative thoughts have the power to poison entire days. They arrive uninvited, repeating old failures, whispering doubts, and magnifying fears that do not deserve the attention they receive. They distract from opportunities, drain energy, and often convince people to stop before they even begin. But there is a way to cut through this mental noise, a direct tool that takes only a few words yet shifts the direction of the mind. It is a 5-word formula. Is this thought helping me? At first it may sound too simple, but simplicity is what makes it powerful. The brain often spins in cycles because it is left unchecked, like a child scribbling on walls without guidance. These 5 words introduce accountability. Every thought, no matter how loud, must face the question, is this thought helping me? The answer is either yes or no. If yes, keep it. If no, drop it. That one line is a sword cutting through tangled patterns of worry and self-sabotage. This formula works because it reframes thinking from emotional reactivity to practical evaluation. Most negative thoughts feel overwhelming because they are treated as truth. But thoughts are not facts. They are interpretation. By interrogating them with this short question, the brain is forced into logic. It no longer swims blindly in emotion, but steps into clarity. Imagine an athlete about to compete. A thought appears, you're going to fail. Without the formula, the athlete sinks into panic. With the formula, the athlete asks, is this thought helping me? Clearly not. The thought loses its grip and focus shifts to what matters: preparation, breath, movement, performance. A real example comes from a man named Hassan, who often replayed past mistakes at work. Every small error, even sending an email late, became fuel for endless self-criticism. His productivity fell because most of his energy was wasted on regret. When he began using the 5-word formula, change came quickly. Each time the old self-blame returned, he paused and asked the question. The answer was obvious. No, it was not helping. Instead of circling the same mental loop, he redirected into a constructive action, finishing the next task. Over weeks, his confidence grew, his work improved, and he realized the formula gave him a filter. Only useful thoughts survived. The practice is not about denying or suppressing thoughts. Suppression only makes them return stronger. It is about evaluating them, sorting them like a disciplined gatekeeper. If the thought contributes to growth, focus, or calm, it passes. If it undermines or weakens, it is dismissed. This approach is consistent with Stoic wisdom. Epictetus wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." The formula makes this teaching practical. A thought is not disturbing in itself, only its usefulness matters. To apply this daily, set a simple rule. Whenever anxiety spikes or self-criticism appears, stop and whisper the 5 words internally. Do not rush. Ask sincerely. The pause itself often breaks the momentum of negativity. Then respond with either replacement or action. If the thought is unhelpful, replace it with a constructive one, or move directly into an action that matters. For example, "I'll never get this project done," can be replaced with, "What step can I take right now?" The formula acts as the trigger for that shift. Think about how much time is wasted entertaining unhelpful thoughts. Hours spent replaying a conversation that already ended. Energy burned, worrying about a future that may never arrive. These moments add up to weeks of life lost. The 5-word formula prevents this theft. It reclaims time, energy, and focus. Over time, the mind becomes trained to automatically filter itself, like strengthening an internal muscle of discernment. Negative thoughts will still appear, that cannot be avoided, but they no longer dominate. One of the most profound aspects of this formula is that it creates distance. Instead of being swallowed by a thought, you stand outside of it and examine it. That small distance is freedom. Viktor Frankl, survivor of unimaginable suffering, once wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." The formula is that space. It forces a pause, gives perspective, and places the choice back into your hands. This question also works well when paired with journaling. Each morning or evening, write down the most common recurring negative thought, then apply the 5-word formula in writing. Is this thought helping me? If not, write the alternative. This builds evidence over time that most negative thoughts are repetitive, irrational, and powerless once examined. Seeing them on paper strips them of intimidation. Consistency is what gives the formula strength. The first few times, it may feel mechanical, but with practice, it becomes second nature. The brain learns to auto-filter, reducing the volume of useless mental noise. Just as a muscle strengthens through repeated exercise, mental resilience strengthens through repeated questioning. The beauty is that this requires no tools, no environment, and no schedule. It can be used on a crowded bus, in a tense meeting, or lying awake at night. Anxiety thrives on unchecked thought spirals. Breaking the spiral requires intervention, not at the level of feeling, but at the level of evaluation. These 5 words serve as the simplest intervention possible, and because they are short, they can be remembered even in the most stressful moments. When the mind is racing, complexity fails. Simplicity survives. For those who fear their mind is too restless, consider this. Every time you use the formula, you weaken the grip of negativity and strengthen your control. Even if it only works 1 out of 5 times in the beginning, that one success builds momentum. Over weeks, it becomes 2, then 3, until the majority of negative thoughts are intercepted and dismantled. The power of language cannot be overstated. Words direct perception. These 5 words are not magic, but they are a scalpel. They cut away what does not serve. They create clarity in moments where confusion would otherwise reign. They are short enough to be memorized, sharp enough to pierce through fog, and practical enough to use for a lifetime. Imagine starting tomorrow with this tool. You wake and a thought arrives. I'm already behind. Pause. Ask the question, is this thought helping me? The answer, no. So instead of spiraling, you drink water, move your body, and start with focus. Later, someone criticizes your work and the thought comes, I'm not good enough. Pause again. Is this thought helping me? No. Replace it with, I can learn from feedback. By night, you feel lighter, not because challenges vanished, but because you controlled the lens through which you faced them. Strength is not the absence of negativity, but the refusal to be ruled by it. These 5 words give you that refusal. They give you a method to stand firm when the mind wants to wander into doubt, fear, or regret. Every repetition strengthens your shield. Every application sharpens your clarity. Over time, this practice rewires the way you relate to your thoughts, turning a once chaotic mind into a disciplined ally. Negative thoughts will always try to enter, but with this formula you hold the gate. Ask the question. If the thought serves you, let it stay. If not, send it away. That is how mental freedom is built. Not through endless struggle, but through disciplined evaluation. 5 words, 30 seconds, and the courage to choose. That is enough to delete the weight of negativity and create space for clarity, strength, and peace. Chapter 5. The powerful body trick to switch off panic immediately. Panic feels like a storm erupting inside the body. The heart pounds, the chest tightens, the throat feels like it is closing, and thoughts race faster than reason can catch them. In those moments, logic alone does not work. You can tell yourself you are safe 100 times, but the body will not listen. What the body needs is proof, and proof comes through action. There is a powerful physical trick that can switch off panic almost immediately. It is simple, discreet, and grounded in science, yet so few people use it because they assume calming panic requires deep meditation or long exercises. The truth is that the body holds its own reset button, and it can be pressed in seconds. The method is called the ice dive reflex, also known as the mammalian dive response. Humans share this with seals and dolphins. When cold is applied suddenly to the face, especially around the eyes and cheeks, the body responds by slowing the heart rate, calming the nervous system, and shifting out of panic mode. It is nature's emergency brake. You can simulate this response by splashing cold water on your face, holding a cold pack against your cheeks, or even dipping your face into a bowl of cold water for a few seconds. The shock of cold tells the body you are safe, conserve energy, reset. Within moments, the racing heart begins to slow and the spiral of panic loses power. To practice, keep it simple. The next time panic begins to rise, find cold water. Place a handful against your face, hold it there for 10 to 15 seconds, and breathe slowly. If water is not available, press something cold, even a chilled bottle, against your skin near the eyes. The sensation activates the vagus nerve, which is directly connected to the body's calming system. This is not a distraction technique, it is a biological override. You are speaking the body's own language, and the body listens. Consider the story of Ayesha, who struggled with sudden panic attacks during crowded commutes. Her chest would tighten on the bus, and she often had to get off early, humiliated and drained. One day she read about the cold trick and decided to try it. She carried a small reusable cold pack in her bag. The next time panic swelled, she pressed it gently against her cheeks. Within less than a minute, her breathing slowed, her vision cleared, and she stayed on the bus until her stop. Over time, she began to associate the cold trick with safety and control. What once felt like a daily battle became manageable. This practice is not limited to panic attacks. It works for sudden surges of stress before speaking, exams, or difficult conversations. A teacher once used it before walking into a room of restless students, pressing a cold bottle to her face in the hallway. She entered calmer, steadier, and able to handle the energy of the room without being overwhelmed. Small actions like these create visible changes in confidence and presence. The body trick works because it interrupts the cycle where panic feeds itself. Normally, a racing heart leads to faster breathing, which convinces the brain something is wrong, which further accelerates the heart. The cold response breaks that loop by slowing the heart from the outside in. Once the heart slows, breathing steadies, and once breathing steadies, thoughts begin to follow. Instead of trying to wrestle panic with the mind alone, you recruit the body as an ally. This is aligned with Stoic principles. The Stoics taught mastery over reaction, not by denying sensations, but by directing them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In moments of panic, the outside event is not the problem. It is the body's storm. By using the cold trick, you are not at the mercy of the storm. You choose how to respond, and in that choice lies strength. What makes this tool so valuable is its speed. Meditation, therapy, and long-term habits all matter, but sometimes you need something immediate. The cold trick delivers that immediacy. 30 seconds of cold on the face can accomplish what hours of reasoning cannot. It gives you back control when you fear you have lost it. It is a reminder that panic is not stronger than you. It is just louder until you press the mute button. For consistency, prepare in advance. Keep a cold pack in the freezer. At home, carry a chilled water bottle when possible. Even knowing you have the option reduces fear, because panic thrives on the belief that there is no way out. Having a tool in your pocket is a silent reassurance. If panic comes, I am ready. Over time, this confidence itself reduces the frequency of panic. The body learns, the mind trusts, and resilience grows. Pairing the cold trick with breath deepens its impact. While holding cold against the face, inhale through the nose for 4 counts, exhale through the mouth for 6. The combination doubles the calming effect. The cold slows the heart, and the breath steadies the mind. Together they pull you back into presence. Panic shrinks when presence expands. Some worry that they will look strange, practicing this in public, but it can be subtle. Simply press a cold drink to your face, as if cooling yourself on a hot day. No one needs to know you are resetting your nervous system. The trick is practical because it blends into everyday life without drawing attention. The long-term benefit is profound. Each time you use the body trick, you teach your nervous system a new pattern. Panic does not spiral out of control. Panic meets calm action. The repetition rewires response. What once was a terrifying, endless storm becomes a shortwave you know how to ride. Confidence grows not by avoiding panic, but by proving you can handle it. Life will always present moments that trigger fear. Tight spaces, unexpected news, overwhelming pressure. You cannot control all triggers, but you can control your preparation. This body trick is preparation in its simplest form. Cold water, a chilled bottle, a few seconds of courage. That is enough to turn a surge of panic into a manageable moment. Strength is not about never feeling fear. Strength is about knowing how to act when fear appears. This simple, powerful trick gives you that knowledge. When panic strikes, you no longer have to collapse into it. You can rise, reset, and continue with steadiness. Anxiety loses its sharpest weapon when you hold a method to calm yourself instantly. Every time you face panic with this practice, you prove to yourself that you are not fragile but capable. You train the body to respond with calm, you train the mind to trust your actions, and you train your spirit to remain steady. Panic is not a life sentence. It is a signal, and signals can be answered. The answer is cold, quick, and powerful. One action, one trick, one decision to take control. The storm will come, but with this tool you will no longer be swept away. Chapter 6. Reprogram your brain. 3 words that destroy anxiety. An anxious mind often feels like a battlefield where endless what-ifs fight for attention. The brain loops through scenarios, most of which never happen. Yet the stress feels real enough to exhaust the body. What many do not realize is that the brain itself can be reprogrammed, not with complex systems or years of struggle, but with a simple phrase, 3 words. When spoken with conviction, can cut through the noise and reset the mind. The phrase is this: I am safe. Those 3 words carry more weight than 1,000 anxious thoughts, because they address the root of anxiety, the fear of danger, loss, or collapse, by affirming safety in the present moment. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty. It tells you that disaster is just around the corner, that you are not ready, that everything will fall apart. But when you say, I am safe, you counter the illusion with reality. In most anxious moments, there is no lion chasing you, no earthquake shaking the ground, no fire closing in. The fear is mental, not physical. The brain, however, cannot always tell the difference. It reacts to thoughts as if they are threats. That is why this phrase works. It speaks directly to the nervous system, reminding it that the body is not under attack. Practicing this requires more than casual repetition. It must be embodied. When anxiety rises, pause, place your hand over your chest, and say aloud or silently, "I am safe." Feel the rhythm of your heartbeat under your palm. Breathe slowly as you repeat the phrase 3 times. Each repetition is not just words, but a command to the nervous system. The heart slows, the shoulders release, the mind begins to follow the body's lead. Over time, the phrase becomes an anchor, a reset switch you can use whenever the storm of anxiety gathers. Consider the story of Daniel, who worked in finance. His days were filled with high-pressure deadlines, and he often found himself spiraling during meetings, convinced he would make mistakes. One afternoon before a presentation, his hands trembled and his chest tightened. Instead of running to the bathroom or hiding behind excuses, he whispered to himself, "I am safe." He repeated it again, slower this time, and breathed deeply. Within minutes, the trembling eased, and he delivered his report with clarity. That small phrase shifted his state, not because the external pressure disappeared, but because he reminded himself that his body was not in real danger. The Stoics taught that events are not frightening in themselves, but our judgments about them create fear. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." When the mind tells you a presentation, a conversation, or a crowded room is dangerous, anxiety follows. When you answer that thought with "I am safe," you are reclaiming judgment. You are choosing reality over illusion. This is the essence of reprogramming the brain, teaching it to recognize that safety exists, even in moments of stress. This practice also interrupts the cycle of catastrophic thinking. Often, one anxious thought becomes 10, then 100. You worry about the meeting, then about losing your job, then about failing your family. The spiral gains momentum until it feels unstoppable, but the phrase "I am safe" breaks the momentum. It is like throwing a stone into the gears of an overworked machine. The grinding slows, the noise softens, and space returns. In that space, reason can breathe again. A powerful way to strengthen this practice is through journaling. Each morning, write the phrase at the top of a page, "I am safe." Then, beneath it, list 3 reasons why. They do not need to be grand. They might be, "I have a roof over my head," "I have food to eat," "I have survived every anxious day before this one." Over time, this becomes proof your brain cannot deny. You are training yourself to look for evidence of safety rather than evidence of danger. The brain is like a garden. What you water grows. By watering safety, you reduce the weeds of fear. The simplicity of the phrase makes it powerful. Anxiety often feels complicated, tangled, impossible to unravel. But simplicity cuts through complexity. "I am safe" requires no equipment, no long practice, no hidden skill. It is available anywhere, in the middle of a crowd, alone in a room, standing before a challenge. Its accessibility is part of its strength. The more you use it, the more automatic it becomes. Imagine standing before a stressful situation, a job interview, a tough conversation, a medical appointment. The pulse quickens, palms sweat, thoughts scatter. Most people try to fight the anxiety, telling themselves, "Don't be nervous, don't panic," but resistance only amplifies it. Saying, "I am safe," does not resist the anxiety, it replaces it. Instead of fighting, you shift focus. Anxiety is left without fuel, and like fire without wood, it burns out. This is not denial of reality. If danger is real, action must be taken. But most anxiety is not about real danger. It is about imagined danger. That is where this practice shines. It restores perspective. You learn to separate genuine threats from false alarms. The more you practice, the less power false alarms hold over you. To deepen the effect, pair the phrase with visualization. After saying, "I am safe," picture a calm scene, perhaps standing on the shore with waves rolling in steady rhythm, or sitting by a fire on a quiet night. Let the words and the image work together, reinforcing safety through both language and imagination. The brain responds strongly to imagery, and combined with the phrase, it learns faster. Over weeks and months, repeating "I am safe" rewires the brain. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, ensures that repeated thoughts carve new pathways. Anxious people often repeat negative scripts like, "I can't handle this," or "something bad will happen." Those pathways become strong. By replacing them with "I am safe," you weaken old patterns and strengthen new ones. Eventually, safety becomes the default state rather than fear. This is how great shifts happen, not through giant leaps, but through small repeated actions. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." With these 3 words, you address imagination directly, calming it before it multiplies suffering. You stop rehearsing disasters and start rehearsing safety. The value of this practice is not only in emergencies, it works as prevention. Saying "I am safe" at the start of the day sets the tone. Before stepping into challenges, use the phrase as a shield. It prepares your nervous system to remain steady, reducing the chance of anxiety taking over. Think of it as armor, invisible, light, and always available. The more consistently you apply it, the more it transforms your relationship with anxiety. Instead of being ruled by sudden fear, you become the one who rules it. You discover that strength does not come from eliminating every stressful situation, but from carrying the tools to meet them. The tool here is simple yet profound. 3 words that cut through the noise and remind you of what is true. So when the storm rises, remember this: you are not powerless, you are not broken. You are safe. Say it once. Say it twice. Say it until the body believes. With every repetition, anxiety loses its grip and confidence takes its place. The brain begins to trust what you tell it, and in that trust, freedom grows. Anxiety no longer dictates your life because you hold the words that dissolve its illusion. 3 words, 1 truth. I am safe. Chapter 7. Stop overthinking with this 2-minute daily exercise. Overthinking is like running on a treadmill that never stops. The body goes nowhere, but the exhaustion is real. Thoughts loop endlessly. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if tomorrow collapses before it even begins? The problem with overthinking is not the presence of thought, but the absence of pause. The brain is constantly firing, dragging you into a spiral where clarity is lost and decisions feel impossible. What breaks this cycle is not hours of meditation or complex strategies, but a 2-minute daily exercise so simple yet so effective, it can retrain the mind to step off the treadmill and into stillness. Here is the practice. Take 2 minutes a day to write down every thought racing in your mind without editing or filtering. Sit with a piece of paper or your phone's notes app, set a timer, and spill everything: tasks you forgot, fears about the future, worries about the past. Do not polish, do not organize, do not censor. The point is not to create something neat, but to release what weighs on your mind. At the end of 2 minutes, stop, put the paper aside, breathe once, deeply, and walk away. This practice works because overthinking feeds on rumination, and rumination feeds on the belief that thoughts must stay inside your head. When you externalize them, the weight shifts. What once felt like a swarm becomes a list you can see, and when you can see it, you are no longer trapped inside it. This exercise may sound too simple, but its power lies in the discipline of repetition. The human brain processes nearly 60,000 thoughts per day, and when many of those repeat, they create mental traffic jams. Offloading them daily prevents the jam from consuming you. It's like clearing the desk before starting work. A messy desk clutters attention. A messy mind does the same. 2 minutes of unloading resets clarity. Take the example of Maria, a young architect who struggled with sleepless nights because her mind replayed conversations, deadlines, and designs on endless repeat. She tried relaxation techniques, but nothing seemed to calm her overthinking. One evening, desperate for relief, she set a timer for 2 minutes and scribbled every thought onto paper, complaints, doubts, even grocery lists. When the timer rang, she put down her pen. That night she fell asleep within 20 minutes, her mind lighter simply because it no longer had to carry the entire load. Within a month, she noticed her focus improved at work, and decisions that once felt overwhelming became manageable. The exercise gave her back her mental space. What makes this practice resonate with so many is that it honors the reality of thought without letting it dominate. People often try to suppress overthinking, telling themselves to just stop or think positive. Suppression never works. What you resist persists. But by giving thoughts a container, 2 minutes of full attention, you acknowledge them, release them, and move on. It's the same principle Stoic philosophers embraced when they practiced evening reflections, writing down events of the day to free the mind for rest. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." This exercise separates imagination from reality. In practice, 2 minutes can feel short at first. The pen moves quickly, thoughts pour out, and the timer ends sooner than you expect. But that is the beauty of it. Overthinking loses its endlessness when given a boundary. 2 minutes is not forever. It is enough. You can always return tomorrow, but today, the process stops when the timer rings. That boundary creates freedom, because anxiety thrives on the belief that thinking must never end. Consistency is the key. Doing this exercise once may bring momentary relief, but doing it daily rewires the brain to release instead of ruminate. Over time, the mind learns that not every thought needs to be carried endlessly. The brain begins to trust the process, like knowing there's a drawer to put clutter into at the end of the day. That trust reduces the grip of overthinking long before it spirals. Pairing the exercise with breath amplifies the calm. After writing, close your eyes for a single slow breath in and out. That one breath becomes the punctuation mark, signaling completion. It tells the nervous system the load is released, the cycle is broken, clarity is restored. This tiny ritual transforms a 2-minute dump into a daily reset. What may surprise you is that the value of this exercise extends beyond anxiety relief. It sharpens decision-making. When thoughts live only in the head, they feel heavy and complex. When written down, they often reveal themselves as simple. A fear like "I'll fail at everything" looks vague in the head, but ridiculous on paper. You can answer it, challenge it, or simply let it go. Many worries collapse under the weight of visibility. That visibility is power. Think of it as a mental hygiene practice. Just as you brush your teeth to prevent buildup, you unload your thoughts to prevent mental buildup. Neglect it, and the residue of overthinking spreads into everything: sleep, focus, relationships. Maintain it, and the mind stays clean, fresh, and ready. 2 minutes a day is a small cost for such freedom. The exercise also builds emotional resilience. When anger, guilt, or fear arise, writing them down prevents them from festering. You acknowledge them without judgment and set them aside. Over time, this makes you less reactive. Instead of carrying emotional weight into every conversation, you process it privately in your 2-minute ritual. That shift alone can transform relationships. Some may doubt such a short exercise can make a difference. But think of training muscles. 2 minutes of push-ups a day, done consistently, will change your body more than an occasional hour-long workout. The brain is no different. Small repeated practices carve deep grooves of habit. Those grooves become highways, and soon the mind naturally flows toward release rather than overthinking. The practice is also portable. You can do it at your desk before work, in the car before walking into a meeting, or on your phone during a break. All you need is a timer and willingness. No one even needs to know. It is your private tool, your hidden strength, always available. One man once described how this exercise saved his mornings. He used to wake up already worried, rehearsing the day's chaos before leaving bed. Now he spends 2 minutes writing everything down the moment he wakes. His mornings transformed from dread to calm readiness, simply because his mind had a place to release. That is the kind of transformation a small practice can bring. In the end, overthinking is not a curse you must live with. It is a habit, and like any habit, it can be retrained. 2 minutes a day may seem small, but small disciplines create great freedoms. This exercise is proof that clarity does not demand hours of effort. It demands intention. By setting aside a tiny space each day, you reclaim the rest of your time from mental clutter. So the next time your mind begins to spiral, remember that relief is 2 minutes away. Pick up a pen, set a timer, and let your thoughts flow out. When the timer ends, breathe and step back into your life lighter than before. Overthinking will not vanish overnight, but it will lose its hold as you practice this simple ritual, and with every passing day, your mind will learn that it no longer needs to run endlessly on a treadmill. It can rest, reset, and move forward with calm clarity. Chapter 8. The Confidence Shift. How to walk, talk, and breathe anxiety-free. Anxiety often hides in plain sight. It shows up in the way someone walks into a room, the way their shoulders fold inward, the way their voice trembles even when their words are correct. Most people think confidence is a feeling you must wait for. But the truth is that confidence is a posture, a sound, and a breath pattern you can choose. The body and mind are linked. When you act with strength, the brain begins to believe it. What this means is that you can shift your state from anxious to calm, not by waiting for courage to arrive, but by moving, speaking, and breathing in ways that create it. This is the confidence shift, and it can change how you meet the world. Start with how you walk. Anxiety makes footsteps quick, shallow, and hesitant, as if rushing to escape unseen pressure. Confidence, by contrast, walks with deliberate pace. When you move slightly slower, with shoulders back and head steady, your nervous system receives a message of control. Studies in psychology show that posture alone can influence hormone levels, increasing feelings of authority and reducing stress. Each step becomes more than movement, it becomes proof that you are grounded. Think of a leader entering a hall. They are not frantic, they are composed. To practice, set a daily intention. Whenever you enter a doorway, slow your pace, lift your chest, and imagine gravity pulling your feet with steadiness. Over time, this habit transforms anxious energy into presence. Speech carries equal weight. Anxiety often hijacks the voice, making it shaky, rushed, or overly quiet. Yet the way you speak not only shapes how others perceive you, it shapes how you perceive yourself. Slow down your words, lower your tone slightly, and speak from the diaphragm instead of the throat. Try this. Place your hand on your stomach, take a breath, and speak a sentence as your stomach expands and contracts, not your chest. This activates a deeper, steadier sound, signaling calm both to you and those listening. Even if you feel nervous, controlled speech convinces your body that you are steady. Over time, the voice you practice becomes the voice you naturally carry. Breathing is the third pillar. Anxiety shortens breath, keeping it high in the chest. Confidence breathes fully, deeply, and rhythmically. One effective method is the 4-6 rhythm. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Exhale through the mouth for 6. The longer exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which tells the body to relax. Practicing this for just a few cycles before an important interaction resets your entire state. The breath steadies the heart steadies the mind, and the mind steadies your actions. This is not about erasing nerves, it is about channeling them into composure. Consider the example of Jordan, who dreaded giving presentations. He would shuffle into the room, avoid eye contact, and rush through slides so quickly that no one could follow. Feedback was harsh, and his confidence sank lower each time. After learning the confidence shift, he began to change small things. Before entering a meeting, he practiced the 4-6 breath 3 times. When walking into the room, he slowed his steps, lifted his chin, and chose a steady pace. During his talk, he paused between points, allowing his voice to settle. The first time he tried it, colleagues noticed. "You seemed calmer today," one said. With repetition, this became his new normal. What once felt like unbearable panic became manageable presence. The power of this practice is that it is immediate. You do not need weeks of preparation to shift into confidence. In a moment, you can square your shoulders, adjust your breath, and lower your tone. These adjustments may feel small, but they send massive signals to your brain and to others. People respond not just to your words, but to your energy. And energy is communicated through posture, voice, and breath. Philosophers long understood this link. Aristotle spoke of virtue as something built through repeated action. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Confidence works the same way. It is not a gift you are handed, it is a habit you train daily. Each time you walk with steadiness, speak with control, and breathe with depth, you reinforce the habit. Over weeks and months, the habit becomes character. One common objection is, "But I still feel nervous inside." That is normal. Courage is not the absence of nerves, but the decision to act steadily in their presence. Think of an actor on stage. Behind the curtain, their heart may race, but when the lights rise, they step out, shoulders square, voice clear. The body carries the mind until the mind catches up. This is the secret. Act as if you are confident, and your brain begins to believe it. The more you practice, the less it feels like pretending, and the more it feels like truth. Practicality matters here. Do not wait for big moments to practice the confidence shift. Use it in small daily situations, walking into a cafe, greeting a colleague, answering a phone call. These low-stakes repetitions strengthen the pattern, so when high-stakes situations arrive, the habit is already built. Just as a soldier trains in drills before battle, you train in daily life before challenges arise. Confidence is a muscle, and repetition builds strength. The shift also influences how others treat you. When you walk with composure, speak with clarity, and breathe calmly, people perceive you as trustworthy and capable. This changes interactions. Opportunities open, respect grows, and relationships deepen. In turn, these positive responses reinforce your own sense of confidence, creating a powerful cycle. Anxiety loses ground, not only because you feel steadier, but because the world begins to mirror that steadiness back to you. Imagine two people entering the same room. One rushes in, head down, voice trembling. The other walks slowly, looks up, and speaks clearly. Both may feel anxious inside, but the second person has chosen the confidence shift. Who do you think is remembered, respected, and invited back? The choice is always available, and it begins with 3 adjustments. Walk steady, talk steady, breathe steady. The beauty of this practice is that it aligns body and mind. Anxiety thrives when the body acts like it is under threat. Rushed steps, shallow breath, quick words. Confidence grows when the body acts like it is safe. Deliberate steps, calm breath, steady voice. By training the body, you teach the mind. This is why the shift is so effective. It bypasses endless thought and works through action. Over time, these practices weave into your identity. You no longer need to remind yourself to walk, talk, and breathe with confidence. It becomes your default. This transformation is not dramatic, but gradual, built on small choices repeated daily. And one day, you realize the anxious version of yourself feels distant, replaced by someone who carries calm strength wherever they go. This is the invitation. Do not wait for confidence to arrive from outside. Build it from within, using the tools you already possess. Your walk, your voice, and your breath are not trivial details. They are the foundation of presence. Every time you choose to walk slower, speak steadier, and breathe deeper, you are rewriting the story anxiety once wrote for you. And in doing so, you prove that confidence is not a mystery. It is a practice, always within reach. Chapter 9. Delete anxiety before sleep with this night routine. Nighttime is when anxiety often hits the hardest. The world slows down, the distractions fade, and suddenly the mind begins to race. Thoughts loop endlessly, replaying past mistakes, worrying about tomorrow, and inventing scenarios that never actually happen. The body is exhausted, but the brain refuses to switch off. This is why so many people lie in bed staring at the ceiling, hoping for sleep that never comes. What most don't realize is that anxiety before sleep isn't random. It's triggered by habits, environment, and mental patterns that can be reshaped. A carefully designed night routine can completely change how you drift into rest, and when you wake up, you feel recharged instead of drained. Think about this. Your brain craves signals to know when it's time to wind down. During the day, you send it signals of activity, bright light, constant scrolling, conversations, and deadlines. But at night, many people keep sending the same signals, watching bright screens until midnight, scrolling through feeds filled with stress, drinking caffeine late in the day, or rushing into bed without transition. No wonder the mind refuses to shut off. It still thinks it's daytime. The secret is to flip these signals. When you intentionally send the brain cues of safety and calm, it responds by lowering stress hormones and producing melatonin, the sleep hormone. The result: anxiety fades and sleep becomes natural again. Here's the practice. Build a 30-minute wind-down ritual that becomes sacred every evening. Start by dimming the lights in your room. Bright white light tricks the brain into believing it's still day, while warm, low lighting tells it night has come. Then, put your phone on Do Not Disturb and leave it away from your bed. Scrolling at night keeps the nervous system activated, and worst of all, it feeds your brain with unpredictable bursts of stimulation, news, notifications, comparisons that only fuel anxiety. Instead, replace the phone with a notebook. Write down every thought buzzing in your head. Don't edit. Don't judge. Just unload. Think of it as transferring your worries from the brain to the page. The simple act of writing signals that your mind no longer has to hold on to them overnight. Now, shift the body. Anxiety often lingers because the body is tense. One effective technique is progressive relaxation. Starting at your toes, tense the muscles for a few seconds, then release. Move up through your legs, stomach, shoulders, arms and face. With each release, the body sinks deeper into calm. This practice resets the nervous system, reminding it that no immediate danger exists. The tension leaves the muscles, and with it, the mind softens. Pair this with slow breathing. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6, and the body begins to feel heavy and safe. A real-life example shows just how powerful this is. Rachel, a young professional, struggled with nighttime panic for years. She dreaded bedtime because she knew her mind would spin out of control, leaving her awake until 3 a.m. She tried sleeping pills, endless podcasts, even lying in bed for hours hoping exhaustion would take over. Nothing worked. Then she committed to a night routine. She turned off screens at least 30 minutes before bed, kept a notebook for unloading her thoughts, dimmed her lamps, and practiced the tension release exercise. Within 2 weeks, her sleep transformed. Instead of panic spirals, she found herself yawning naturally. Over time, bedtime became her favorite part of the day, because it no longer brought dread. It brought relief. Another small but powerful addition is gratitude journaling. Anxiety before sleep often focuses on what went wrong, what could go wrong, or what you didn't accomplish. Gratitude flips the script. Each night, write down 3 things that went right, no matter how small: a conversation, a meal, a moment of laughter. This trains the brain to end the day with positivity, shifting focus away from problems and toward blessings. It's not about ignoring stress, but about balancing it with evidence that life holds good things too. Breath is also key in sending the final signal to the brain. It's safe to rest. Try the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale slowly for 8. This lengthened exhale calms the nervous system and reduces heart rate, creating the same physiological state as meditation. Many people fall asleep within minutes after a few cycles. Combined with the previous steps: dim light, no screens, unloading thoughts, muscle relaxation, this breathing pattern completes the reset. The beauty of a night routine is that it stacks. One single step may help a little, but combining them creates a powerful wave of calm. You dim the lights, put away the phone, write down your worries, release your muscles, breathe slowly, and list your gratitudes. Each action tells the brain, the day is over, danger has passed, you are safe. And when the brain believes you are safe, anxiety has no fuel to run on. Sleep follows naturally. Consistency is what makes it work. If you practice this routine once, you may feel some relief. If you practice it every night, your body begins to anticipate it. Just as brushing your teeth tells your body bedtime is coming, your night routine becomes a trigger for calm. Eventually, the brain learns when the lights dim, when the pen touches the paper, when the breath slows, it is time to sleep. Anxiety no longer has the same grip because the pattern has been replaced. People often underestimate how much environment matters. Small changes like keeping your bedroom cooler, using blackout curtains, or diffusing calming scents like lavender add volume to the effect. Each sensory signal matters: sight, dim light, sound, quiet or soft music, touch, relaxed muscles, smell, calming aromas, breath, steady rhythm. When all senses align, the mind surrenders. You're no longer fighting for sleep. You're welcoming it. This is the power of the night routine. It deletes anxiety before it can take over. It doesn't rely on chance, and it doesn't leave you helpless against racing thoughts. Instead, it hands you control over your body, your environment, and your focus. You go to bed not as someone fearing the night, but as someone who knows exactly how to command peace. And tomorrow, when you wake up rested, your anxiety levels throughout the day drop too. Sleep is the foundation of mental health. Poor sleep fuels anxiety, calm sleep destroys it. By taking these steps at night, you don't just prepare for rest, you prepare for a calmer tomorrow. This is your invitation to take back your evenings. Build the routine, follow it consistently, and watch how quickly anxiety loses its grip. Tonight can be the start of peace, and every night after can become proof that anxiety no longer controls you. Chapter 10. The Permanent Reset. Daily micro-habits that erase anxiety forever. Anxiety is often treated like an intruder that suddenly barges into life, but in truth, it is usually built from tiny, unnoticed choices repeated day after day. The mind and body respond to patterns, and most people unknowingly create patterns that keep them in a loop of tension, fear, and overthinking. The good news is that the same principle works in the opposite direction. Small actions, done consistently, rewire the nervous system toward calm. The path to erasing anxiety isn't one giant change, it's the steady practice of micro-habits that shift the balance every single day until calm becomes the default state. The Stoics taught that control begins with attention to the smallest details of daily life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that our life is what our thoughts make it. Thoughts, however, don't just appear randomly, they are shaped by repeated behaviors. When you control those behaviors, those micro-habits, you change the quality of your thoughts. In modern terms, anxiety is less of a monster to be fought and more of a weed that withers when it isn't fed, and you stop feeding it by planting new habits in its place. Start with the first and simplest micro-habit: posture. The way you hold your body affects the way your brain evaluates threats. Standing tall, rolling the shoulders back, and lifting the chin tells your nervous system that you are not under attack. People who slump forward unconsciously send danger signals to the brain. One subtle shift in posture throughout the day is enough to start lowering the volume of anxious thoughts. This is not about looking confident for others, it's about sending a biological signal of safety to yourself. Next comes the habit of breath awareness. You don't need long meditation sessions. Instead, take 3 deep breaths before beginning any new activity. Before opening your laptop, before entering a meeting, before answering a message, pause, inhale deeply, and exhale longer than you inhale. These mini resets anchor the nervous system, preventing stress hormones from building unchecked. Over time, these breaths become automatic, a built-in shield that interrupts anxiety before it spirals. Another powerful micro-habit is managing inputs. What you consume shapes how you feel. Flooding the mind with negative news, toxic conversations, and endless comparisons online keeps anxiety alive. Replace this by curating your inputs. Choose one uplifting podcast, read a page of wisdom literature, or spend 5 minutes in silence before checking your phone in the morning. Each choice shapes the mental environment in which your thoughts grow. Just as a plant thrives in healthy soil, your mind stabilizes when it's not buried in negativity. Here's a real-world example. John, a college student, found himself spiraling every afternoon. His heart would race, his mind would jump from one worry to another, and he would avoid studying because he felt overwhelmed. When he examined his routine, he scrolled social media the moment he woke up, skipped breakfast, slouched while working, and held his breath when anxious. None of these alone seemed destructive, but together they created a constant state of alarm. He began shifting micro-habits, eating a balanced breakfast, taking 3 slow breaths before studying, and stretching every 2 hours. Within a month, his panic episodes had nearly disappeared. His anxiety didn't vanish overnight, but the new foundation of habits left little room for it to grow. One of the most underrated micro-habits is grounding through physical touch. Anxiety thrives on abstraction, the endless what-ifs and mental storms. To counter this, use grounding techniques daily. Press your feet firmly into the floor and notice the texture. Touch a familiar object, like a smooth stone or wooden desk, and let your mind rest on the sensation. These micro-habits remind the brain that you are here, now, not trapped in imaginary disasters. Practice them for even 10 seconds, multiple times a day, and you anchor yourself back to reality. Micro-habits also include the language you use with yourself. Words are powerful. They either strengthen anxiety or weaken it. Replace harsh self-talk with neutral or encouraging phrases. For example, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," shift to, "I will take this one step at a time." That single phrase becomes a lifeline. Words shape perception, perception shapes feelings, and feelings dictate actions. By practicing gentler internal language, you steadily weaken the grip of anxiety. Small movement habits are equally essential. You don't need an hour at the gym. Even a 2-minute walk, some stretching, or standing up to roll your shoulders can recalibrate the body. Movement metabolizes stress hormones like cortisol. Staying still for long periods without relief lets tension accumulate. Integrating micro-movements throughout the day works like releasing pressure from a valve, preventing the nervous system from overflowing. Another micro-habit that rewires anxiety is intentional pauses. People often rush from task to task, keeping the brain in constant alert mode. By inserting short pauses, taking a sip of water mindfully, looking out of the window for 30 seconds, closing your eyes and exhaling, you signal to the nervous system that you are not in crisis. Anxiety hates pauses because they dismantle the illusion of urgency. Even small acts of kindness form part of this reset. Anxiety often narrows attention inward, trapping people in endless self-analysis. A daily micro-habit of reaching out, sending a message of gratitude, holding the door for someone, or offering a compliment, shifts focus outward. This doesn't just help others, it rewires the brain toward connection instead of fear. Research shows that acts of kindness release oxytocin, a hormone that counters stress and creates a sense of safety. Micro-habits are most effective when linked together. They create a chain of calm that runs through the day. You start with posture in the morning. Breathe before a task. Choose positive input. Pause during stress. Move regularly. Ground with touch. Adjust self-talk and end with kindness. No single habit is overwhelming. Each takes seconds. But together, they build a new rhythm of life that leaves no oxygen for anxiety. The key is consistency. Discipline turns micro-habits into identity. The Stoics believed that excellence is not an act, but a habit, and the same is true of peace. When practiced daily, these micro-habits stop being tools you use and become part of who you are. You no longer fight anxiety each day. Instead, you live in a way that starves it out naturally. The permanent reset happens not through force, but through design, designing your day around small choices that accumulate into resilience. The truth is that anxiety will always try to return. Life brings challenges, uncertainty, and stress. But with these habits built into your routine, Anxiety loses its ability to dominate. When the posture straightens, the breath slows, the words soften, and the focus shifts outward, the nervous system knows it is safe. Calm becomes the baseline, and anxiety becomes the visitor that no longer stays. This is the invitation. Don't wait for a massive breakthrough. Build the reset today, one micro habit at a time. The permanent solution is not hidden in complexity. It is found in repetition, in the small daily acts that anchor you in strength. Each moment you choose posture, breath, gratitude, grounding, movement, or kindness, you are writing new instructions into your nervous system. Over time, those instructions become your identity, a life free from anxiety, lived with presence, strength, and peace.